Good morning, Carol. Nice to see you here at the beach. Nice weather, nice surrounding. Um, well, first of all, could you please introduce yourself briefly and tell us a little about your professional background?
Hello, and it's lovely to see you. Yes, the weather is beautiful. Bright blue sky is lovely. Yes, I'm Carol Rainbow in real life and most times called that in Second Life as well, though I do have a different Second Life name. I have been a teacher all of my working life and started off like everybody, I think, probably in school, or most people started in school, having taught secondary school, primary school. After I had children, I went to preschool and night school at the same time.
Mhm.
So taught all ages right across the range. In the last 20 years, since computers came into being in education, I have been very interested in ICT. I became a trainer for teachers in Oxfordshire. So I was trying to teach all the teachers in Oxfordshire how to use computers to enhance their teaching and learning,
Wow.
to motivate and inspire children.
Okay.
Because computers were put in schools, but of course teachers didn't know what to do with them. They'd never had one, never seen one, and so it's a bit of a big change for people, and it needed lots of support.
That must have been quite a challenge. Yeah.
Oh, there were a team of, about 6 of us, and we had about 80 to 90 schools each. 8 years, I suppose, I've been really interested in Second Life. I first heard about it reading a news item in The Guardian, I think it was, saying that they had run a music concert in Second Life. And I'd
Wow.
missed the concert, but I saw the report and I thought, what's this? And being in ICT at the time, being in computers as my job, I felt it necessary to learn a little bit about what Second Life was.
Oh, yeah,
So I came in.
that was my next question actually. Yeah, when you came in. Yeah, okay. And how you got
Yeah,
involved.
well, that was exactly how I got into it.
Yeah.
Just coming in to find out about a music concert.
Uh-huh.
And there was a big association called NACE, and that's the National Association for Advisors in Computer Education in the UK. And we were all members of it. It was a very, very big association for us. It was the way we got all the new news and everything else. So they developed a little plot here in Second Life, and quite a lot of us came in and started to look around and learn a little bit about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Gavin Dudeny from the consultancy set up this sim that we're on now. And I came and hired a little plot here, rented a little plot here, and started to learn how to teach. And I actually was teaching a subject in Second Life for the teachers in Oxford.
Okay.
We had a situation where we'd organised a big e-safety training in our training room, and we had 2 community policemen, we had 2 trainers, and in the end only 3 teachers turned up. And when we asked schools why, because they all wanted this training, it was because they couldn't afford to have teachers out of school. So I started to run it in World in the evenings. So every Wednesday night for a month we did a training session, and that was like the whole day's course, and then we kept on running it after that for a long time. And that's where I learned to teach in Second Life,
Mm-hmm.
by actually doing it.
Okay. And when did you first get started with making machinima?
That was a very long time ago. It was back then in the early days. And I had seen 1 or 2, and I just thought, like so many things, well, what is it? How do they do it? And what's it for? And so I made one, and it was, there were no words, it was all visual, and it was all underwater. It was 2 mermaids,
Mm-hmm.
and the mermaids were just riding on the back of turtles and swimming through the ruins underwater.
Oh,
It was just a very visual thing, and it
yeah.
was 12 minutes, which of course is horrifyingly long these days. And I got permission to film in Cave Rua, which still exists. It's an underwater filming scenario. And then I rebuilt part of it here because I wanted to do some action and set out some particles and all sorts.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, and that machinima took me about 3 weeks, maybe a month, which
Okay.
seems impossible now. It took me such a long time
Yeah.
to learn how to do it all, because I was completely alone, no help, no
Yeah.
guidance. I just had to learn it from scratch.
Yeah, well, since then you have not only been involved in making machinima, but also in instructing people how to make machinima. Can you tell us about your experience and challenges of teaching people how to make machinima?
Well, the experience is absolutely wonderful. It's great fun, lovely to be working with people, and absolutely fantastic to see their results.
Hmm.
The challenges are a different story. They're
Yeah.
numerous. One of the biggest challenges to teaching in virtual world is that you can tell people exactly what to do, but their interface is often in a different language. They often don't understand. I mean, we had a classic example of that the other day. The first button on our toolbar is called Me. And I
Yeah.
said to people, click on me and choose so-and-so. I can't remember what it was now. So one lady having a Spanish interface kept clicking on the person, me, the avatar, me, and of course not seeing the menu. And it was so comical.
Yeah,
Um,
I can imagine.
and that's just one of the challenges. So
Yeah.
language barriers and different user interfaces. And then there are technical problems. People don't necessarily have really high-spec computers, but expect to be able to do high-spec work.
Okay.
Making machinima is pretty high-spec. Running Second Life to look good
Hmm.
is high-spec.
Hmm.
So that's a challenge.
So it's
Also,
more on the
the
technical side, yeah. Hmm.
the technical skills are quite advanced as well.
Hmm. Hmm. Um,
Um,
you have published an ebook on making and using machinima for language teaching. Do you use this book to facilitate your machinima training courses? And
I don't, sadly.
oh, that's a pity.
I do always advertise it.
Yeah.
Do tell people about it, but
Hmm.
it's obviously their choice whether they want to buy it. I don't give it freely for the
Hmm.
courses.
And have you had
Um,
any feedback from people, those who used it, that it helped them in creating their own machinima?
we have, yes. One lady particularly, Eleanor, actually recommended it on a course. She
Okay.
used it and learned a lot from it. She said
Mm.
it took you through the whole steps, every step,
Hmm.
nice and clearly, and she used it to help her.
Hmm.
And she's since become a very good machinima maker. So that's nice.
Great, yeah, that's good feedback. As you mentioned, you have produced numerous machinima for language teaching. What was your special focus on these machinima?
I don't think I've ever had a special focus, but I do love doing little stories, children's stories,
Okay.
fables,
Hmm.
even fairy tales, because they are just so lovely to recreate in world. You can easily become the big brown wolf or the big bad fox or whatever,
Yeah.
and to create stories. And also I had great fun in making machinima about idioms.
Okay. For
So
example, what kind of idioms?
raining, raining cats and dogs. I
Ah,
mean,
okay.
there's
Hmm.
no way you can show that in real life,
That's
but you
true.
can have cats and dogs raining down here, and it's very funny. So
Yeah.
yes, animal idioms,
Hmm.
elephants and dogs and cats and lions.
Wonderful.
You can
Hmm.
have all of those very easy.
Hmm. You mentioned that your first machinima took you about 3 weeks or something. Now you produce more and more machinima, and how long does it take you on average to produce machinima of 3 minutes, let's say?
I think probably 6 hours
Okay,
as an
that's good.
average. You've probably got an hour, maybe two filming, and
Hmm.
then for three probably editing, and then four finishing off, doing credits and titles and captions and music and sound effects, all those sorts of odds and ends that really finish it. We have got quite quick at making them now. We've got it down to a fine art.
I mean, you said you don't teach languages in World at the moment using machinima, but you're using machinima in teaching the training courses. So what is your experience there, and what kind of machinima do you use for that teaching?
Right. Well, as I mentioned in the challenges, one of the big challenges is that people can't see what I can see. So I'm saying click on XYZ and then XYZ and something is going to happen. But they can't see. And unless they're actually really clear about what I'm doing, it can be very hard to follow my instructions. Whereas a 3-minute machinima showing them where to click, what they're going to see, and what the result is. It can be less than 3 minutes, but it can teach them a whole Second Life skill or a whole machinima making skill much more quickly than I can explain it in Second Life. So if they watch these tiny 3-minute machinimas that I've laid out in a sequence for people who take the course, they become very familiar with how to use Second Life very quickly.
Yeah, that makes sense. When running your training courses, which technology or online platforms do you preferably use for your classes?
Okay, Second Life is absolutely perfect for filming. I know OpenSim and a lot of other places are very similar, but in Second Life we have access to absolutely thousands of artifacts, resources, places, all those different things that you need to bring together to make your machinima. So I love Second Life as a platform for machinima making. And then the virtual classrooms that I enjoy using are Adobe Connect and Blackboard Collaborate, both actually fairly expensive and well recognized virtual classrooms. I'm not so keen on the free ones, even though I have used Google Hangouts and various other freebies. You can't guarantee the quality, you can't guarantee the recording quality, and various other little things that you like to depend on when you're using them in training. And then a virtual learning environment that I use lots is Moodle.
Okay. Have you used others, or what made
I've
you
used
use?
Blackboard, I've used in the dim distant past, I've used, one called Digital Brain, one called First Class.
So, what advantages do 3D environments have when learning a language compared with physical classroom? I mean, which scenarios would be ideal in a virtual environment and difficult to set up in a real life classroom? I mean, you mentioned your idioms, but are there any others you can think of?
Oh, lots. In Language Lab, where I used to teach, we had proper aviation. We had a proper airport set up, and a hospital, and clubs and cafes and restaurants and hotels. We had a whole English city there with
Okay.
just about everything, museums, art galleries. So you could take your students into what was as close to an authentic situation as you could possibly get,
Okay.
without bringing everybody to England and taking them to a museum, which of course is impossible. So we could go and look around a museum and discuss artifacts, talk about historical times. We could look at pictures and describe them and talk about them. We could go out, we could simulate an air crash or a vehicle crash, and train people the language that they needed to use to be able to call an ambulance, to be able to deal with the situation.
Okay.
In the airplane situation, we could train the cabin crew or the pilots how to use, which language to use for a situation.
And what are the advantages and what are the disadvantages of using machinima videos in a language learning classroom?
The advantage is that the teacher can very quickly and easily make exactly what's needed by their students. So the one classic example that we've seen a lot is the conditionals, the first conditional and the second conditional. A teacher was really struggling to get these over to her students, but by making a very, very simple 5-minute machinima the students could teach each other and teach her what it meant and how to do the how to use the conditionals. And that can be said for lots of things. You can do simple machinima on almost any language point, any vocabulary situation. We just had a lady make one using winter words. So all
Oh,
her
lovely.
young children were learning words about winter, skating and sledging and snowball throwing and
Great.
things like that. So
Wonderful.
it can be as simple as you like, right up to as complex as you like. But it can be specifically made for your students.
Yeah. And
And disadvantages,
yeah.
sorry, you asked
No,
about
no,
disadvantages. I can't think of any.
Well, that's what I thought. That's why I wanted to go on, because you didn't seem to see any disadvantages. Yeah. But how could you motivate teachers and students to create their own machinima?
You could motivate teachers if you could actually show them what a machinima is capable of and make it relevant to them.
Yeah.
If you were teaching students in a virtual world, then you just have to make a few machinimas, just record them a few times, and they would be hooked instantly. There'd be no problem at all.
Okay.
I know that is the case. I know that's what happens.
Yeah.
People enjoy seeing themselves acting and then get interested and learn how to do it for themselves.
Yeah. Well, some say it's pretty time consuming, but as you mentioned at the beginning, it takes some time to start with, and then as soon as you get the practice, then it's getting much quicker, isn't it?
And I think there are very different levels of machinima making. If you want to make a professional machinima telling a whole story like The Owl and the Pussycat or Goldilocks and the Three Bears, then you need to do the complete work. You need to set the scene. You need to do the costumes. You need to do the scripts. That is quite a big effort needed to make that sort of machinima. But if you just want to record a conversation, an interview between two people, perhaps you were going for a job and I was going to interview you, just to give you practice of job interview situation, then to film us probably takes the 5 minutes that the interview is going to take. And then we can use that in a completely different way. We can watch that machinima, and it is still a machinima, to improve your language, your answers, whatever we need to do after the interview. So it can be used very simply and instantly, or it can to make a full-scale presentation, video film of something. There are very different ways of using machinima, and not all machinima need to take 6 hours to make.
Okay. Do you see a difference between using machinima videos created in a 3D world and real-life videos?
Well, there is a difference, because in real life you've obviously got body language, you've got facial expressions, you've got complete, I mean, if I'm teaching, I can be really articulating the words and people can watch my mouth and tongue and teeth, if you know what I mean. And none of that can happen in world. So there is a difference in language teaching.
And how important are mimic and gestures in a video for language teaching, do you think?
I think there are different ways of doing that. If I wanted to use that, the facial features and the body language, I think I'd probably do it in a Google way. I might even superimpose a real face in the corner of a machinima, maybe. I'm not convinced that it's absolutely important. I think there's a lot you can do and learn from a machinima without seeing the body language and without seeing the face.
And now, which is your favorite place for filming in Second Life, if you have one? Maybe you could show us. Would that be possible?
Certainly, yes. This is one of my special places. I do a lot on Edunation, but here we have to build the scene or use the holodeck. And I have another favourite place called an island called MOSP, the Machinima Open Source Project. And in that island there are lots of scenes ready-made where you can just literally go and film.
Okay, would you like to take me there, and then we could continue the last bit of the interview there?
Certainly.
Okay, this is your favorite?
This is one of my favourite places, and this particular area, this is called the Valley, and you've got woodlands, you've got water, you've got little houses. If we walk across, we've got a beach and a lighthouse. We've got lots of things, beautiful country lane here. Lots of places here around that I've used in lots of machinima. So this is one of the scenes. We could now move and have a look at one called Snow, if you'd like to.
Mm-hmm. It's lovely.
Would you like me to take you to Snow to have a look at another one?
Yeah, just one more. So yeah, this is lovely here.
Okay.
Okay, this is a nice landscape. It's the snow landscape, right?
This is the Snow one, yes. And as you see, there are reindeer and igloo, a little picnic table with an oil lamp, and then there are houses here with Christmas trees and all sorts of things. And again, I've used this sim for lots of winter videos, machinima.
Mm-hmm.
You can use the same sim, but just in different houses or different aspects of it for different machinima. And what is lovely here is you can actually put your own stuff out for up to 20 minutes at a time. So we used the house here for Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and I put the big bed, the middle bed and the little bed, and the big chair, the middle chair and the little chair all out here to make my scenes. So half of the job was done for me. I just had to add the actual fine detail to make it the Three Bears house.
Mm-hmm.
So this
Okay.
sim is wonderful to use.
Okay.
And there are lots
So,
more scenes.
yeah.
There's a city scene, a sand scene, grasslands, there's a beach. There were lots. Oh, and then there were lots of little rooms, individual rooms set up, and they're called sound stages. So there's a bedroom,
Okay.
there's a seamstress's workshop, there's an artist's room, there's a teenage bedroom with guitars and posters, all sorts of little scenes in that.
Oh, wonderful. That sounds wonderful. Can cultural differences be conveyed via machinima, do you think? And
I think it is possible to do them. It can be quite tricky, but there are so many different cultural sims around. I definitely learned all about going into a Muslim temple. It's not called a temple. From visiting the Hajj sim and being taught. And we've certainly made machinima, little machinima about cultural differences in some of our Machinivo courses. We did a fantastic one that was great fun where we talked about money, wages around the dinner table between Americans and English people. And of course, that's a definite no.
yeah.
So interesting. You can do it. It takes a little bit of thinking about, but then so do every other sort of machinima. You just got to plan it carefully.
Yeah. And how can machinima videos enhance language teaching?
They can be used in such a great number of ways. We know from what teachers have said, students get very involved when a video is shown. When there's something moving was the one expression I loved. If something's moving, it's instantly interesting to them. Also, we've heard one teacher say that her children were just fascinated because their teacher was involved in it.
Okay.
So I think there are lots of different ways they can engage the learner. So it can be just that their teacher has written it, just that their teacher has done it, that it's been designed specifically to meet their needs, just that it's rather magical and interesting if you do something like Goldilocks and the Three Bears for little children because it's coming to life. So there are lots of ways it can be used to inspire and enhance, and not only language learning. I think it can be used for lots of other learning as well as languages.
And do you believe that the use of machinima videos helps students to learn better than without them?
I think it can, if they're used well and if they've been designed specifically for the students.
Mm-hmm.
I think if the students are involved and especially if they've helped make it as well, cool, that would really be a way to enhance their learning.
Mm-hmm.
Like any other video, if you play it for the sake of playing it without good pedagogical reasons, then it's not going to help. And if you use it for sound reasons and based on good pedagogy, then it will help. I think you can't say any one answer to that. It's just how the teacher
Mm-hmm.
has designed it and used it.
So you think it can add to the quality of language
I'm,
teaching and learning?
I'm sure it can, yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely positive it can help. It's just the way the teacher uses it that is
Mm-hmm.
key to that.
Okay. Well, thank you very, very much, Carol. It was really, really interesting to listen to you and all the things you said. And well, thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for the interview. Very enjoyable, and I hope it's useful.